Hello again. This is Gail Cameron from My Pocket Coach for our Leadership Lesson series. And today we have with us a young woman leader of extraordinary proportions. She's a chartered accountant with diverse experience in accounting, risk, audit, advisory, and regulation. She's been a lead auditor for South Africa's large insurance and banking clients and has gained international exposure at KPMG in Bermuda. I always thought of Bermuda as the Bermuda Triangle, but Bermuda has a strong reputation as the world's risk capital, as it houses some of the largest insurers, reinsurers, and captives. Welcome, Phila Patesi. It is wonderful to have you here.
Wow, what a wonderful welcome, Gail. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. So, as a young leader, you've had an extraordinary journey. And despite having some of the greatest qualifications in your field, you're a chartered accountant, you've got your MBA, but when I first met you, you felt stuck, like there was no progression in your career. We've worked through that now, and you're making good progress. Tell us a little about the start of your journey, where you came from, and early influences.
Okay, so wow, when I was preparing for this interview, I had to think of defining moments for me, especially around my career. So I started off pursuing a degree in actuarial science, actually. And so the first point of diversion was when I had to drop out of university for certain reasons. And that left me with sort of a question of what to do now. So I had to go back home and think about it. And I stumbled into the accounting profession. And that was an incredible moment because it taught me resilience. So I was coming from studying from a full-time university to a part-time university. At the time, it didn't feel like, it felt like a downgrade, if I can put it that way, but no, it wasn't. I learned resilience. And funny enough, when we started with exams, the first year where we write the exams, you had a full class. By second year, it shrinks and you're still there. And I was always thinking, am I going to also, shrink out? Third year, it's a handful. Fourth year, so those were some of the moments in my life that really shaped me, being resilient and seeing progression even in the midst of setbacks, if I were to put it that way. So after that period, I went then because I then qualified or I was ready to start articles. And then I moved into Johannesburg for articles. The rest you've already described.
So, your mum was a teacher and your dad a policeman. I'm sorry they are both late now, but they had a very positive influence on your life. Tell us, in what way?
Oh, wow. Such a great one for me and very nostalgic. So my dad, he was such an incredible person. He loved his job. That was what I took out of him. So he used to make my brother and I do these police drills, the salute, and parade us in a way around his friends. That's how much he loved his job. And you could see his work ethic. He would take us to school, go to work, come back from work, pick us back, that work ethic, the love for his job. So that was, a very branding moment around hard work for me. And my mom, she didn't start out as a teacher, so I guess I learned pivoting from her, pivoting from actuary to accounting, because she started out as an administrator and then would study at night, to get that teacher's qualification. And that to me was those tough, those lessons from them. Yeah.
Okay. So you served your articles at KPMG in Bermuda. Tell us about that experience and what you learned from that.
Okay, so I served my articles at KPMG in South Africa, and then once they were finished, then I just went to Bermuda for a couple of years. Those two, one of the things that you learn in that environment is hard work. Work incredibly hard. So that principle stuck out to me, and it's been defining for my career. But you also learn community because somehow you're all working towards a common goal. I used to call some of my, article friends comrades because of the camaraderie that came with that, refining process in your career. So hard work, camaraderie, but Bermuda taught me seasons. In Bermuda, you work in or flowing with seasons. Let me put it that way. In Bermuda, you work very hard during winter, incredibly hard. But in summer, you start to see the Bermuda colorful shorts and people just having like that slow, laid back environment. So that taught me to flow, to go with that flow and not to always be intense. So I enjoyed that about Bermuda.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I've never, heard that before. So interesting. So many young professionals that I've encountered in my coaching practice have suffered from what is known as the imposter phenomenon, which is self-doubt of intellect, skills, or accomplishments. And it takes place especially among high achievers. How did this affect you? And, what helped you to overcome this?
Yeah, I think part of reaching out to you, Gail, was definitely, having that. I think that is something that uh, I feel like I always had to contend with in my career. Sorry, I just know. Yeah, to contend within my career. First of all, you go into spaces you never thought you would reach, and when you get there, you have to become more intense, and then you go up again. So in this year, I moved from one role to another, and when you see the people in the table that surround you, you feel like I should be someone else. These are high performance people, and it makes you feel a little bit small, right? A little bit like you don't belong. So part of what brought me to you was those, that overwhelm, and you helped me through, through that. And part of the things I took out from our sessions was you belong, in this world. You yourself belong. Sit yourself down. You have an impact. And those are some of the things that came out of our discussion.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And, I wish you could have seen the way I saw you, that you had such beautiful personal impact and, your greatness, your potential. And I'm so glad that you eventually, caught a glimpse of that. So assertiveness is also, a much needed skill today, which is standing up for your rights in a non-destructive way. But what did you learn about assertiveness and how has this helped you in your career?
Oh, yes. I think I came to you at, the right time in my life. And that was definitely one of the key lessons that we had learned. I think before, when you don't see yourself, you don't know until someone points it out to you that you're reacting in a passive aggressive way and it's not making, you're not making an impact and you're not being authentic. So those were some of the lessons that I learned from our coaching sessions, because you need to have a voice in order to make your projects work and to be assertive and to put your foot down sometimes, because there's so many competing things in organizations. And so that taught me to actually be able to be firm about the projects in a way that's not destructive, in a way that just speaks the truth It's not putting the other person down. It's not shrinking myself under, but it's just being firmly authentic in what you would like to achieve. And I think that confidence helps people see as well that she means business. Let's give her, space for this project. So it has been really helpful.
Wow. And it's speaking your truth even when your voice shakes, isn't it?
Yes, that was actually our buzzword. Speak the truth even when your voice shakes.
Yeah, and it's like a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. So, we know that a more positive outlook, is incredibly important for success today. It doesn't necessarily have to be positive, but it needs to be healthy. And in fact, research has shown that optimists outlive pessimists by 19%. They say pessimists are more likely to be right, but they just don't live as long. So that's quite interesting. How important is it to keep a healthy outlook, especially when facing self-doubt or challenges?
Oh, I can't overemphasize that, Gail, because as you know, life is not, my mom used to say, a bed of roses. And you have to navigate even in the midst of that. So for me, thinking healthy and positive has been the ultimate I think driver. As I shared with you my story of looking like you're going backwards, that healthy positive mindset was what drove me forward to accomplish the studies and to eventually move into another province and so on and so forth. And even now, you get to a place, it's not going to be easy to get to the next place. And you always have to have that positive mindset that things do work out. This is not forever. And like I said, with Bermuda, it taught me to flow with season. So you flow with the season, but you know that it will pass.
And that's such beautiful advice because, in the financial services business, you do go through peaks and troughs where things are incredibly busy and, when things start slowing down. And it's important to remember that this too shall pass. So,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to young leaders who are considering getting a coach? What should they look for in a coach?
Oh, wow. I think firstly the importance of coaching, it cannot be overstated. It's so important. It's part of, your ongoing development because you never always, you can look at the mirror but see something different. And so when I had this encounter with you, you showed me parts of myself that I wasn't willing or wasn't seeing for myself, and I tapped into them. And I think if you look for someone who's experienced. For example, like yourself, and that's what I saw through the leadership series. That's there, that this is someone who's really experienced and who's going to be able to give me the wisdom of time. And look for someone who's genuine, who genuinely cares for your growth. And when I had my sessions with you, I felt like you really, really care specifically for me in that process and for my success. And so, it was a partnership. It wasn't, I'm just seeing a coach. You tapped into me. You looked into my past, my parents. I think the first time when we met, you were like, I'm glad you're here. I think your parents would be proud. And that was, a big moment for me because that's a big part of my life that even though they're not here, you still want to make them proud. So being with a coach that's really experienced is incredibly helpful.
Well, thank you for that, Phila. That's wonderful. And I must admit, it was such a privilege coaching you because you were just like a breath of fresh air. Here was this beautiful, talented person. Oh my goodness. And you didn't see it. And I'm just glad that I connected you, to your own power and got you into your shoes, so to speak. So, where to next? share with us your dreams and your vision.
Okay, so I love financial services. I think that's been, a place. I found my place in the financial services sector, and I still feel that's that's a place I really want to contribute in with my authentic self, and make an impact. And I think now I've also moved into a more I don't want to say coaching, but mentoring phase where you see people like yourself and you also want to just take them along. And so that's also one, my vision, almost like taking people with me in the journey.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. So if you had to do it all again, would you go the same CA, MBA route? Anything you would do
Absolutely.
differently?
That has been a beautiful journey for me. I wouldn't do it differently, Gail. I think becoming a CA has helped me opened a lot of doors for me. Even the international experience, it was through that ticket. So I would not do it any differently. It's been a rewarding journey.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today. It really is an inspiration interviewing you. And I hope many young leaders watch this because you are truly an inspiration. Thank you so much, Phila.
Thank you for having me, Gail, and have a good morning.
Thank you. Take care.